So it is Super Bowl week, but before we talk about the Super Bowl, we got to talk about the Steelers because they made news. They got their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, formerly head coach of the Falcons and offensive coordinator of the Titans. When this first happened, we actually talked about this last week before it happened. I said, "Oh my God, this is probably going to happen, and it's going to suck, and he's going to suck." I've kind of changed my mind. But what are your thoughts on Arthur Smith?
I think at the time I also agreed with you. I don't. I would guess I would say I changed my mind as well. I would put it more as I got to be fair and give the guy a chance, but I'm not excited about it. I don't have to be, and I'm not. It looks like the Commanders or whatever they are now, the Commanders, they're going to sign Kingsbury, who that was a guy I would have liked. I would have had more enthusiasm over, and I guess I just can't be that excited. I'm not going to crap all over it. I mean, there are some things I know what he did in 2018 and stuff with Tennessee, but he had a really good running back with Derrick Henry, and you take Derrick Henry out of the equation, and he was awfully average in Atlanta as a head coach. Didn't really develop, Robinson this year as a running back, and that I think was part of the reason he got axed. And so I don't know. To me, his track record is at best a little wishy washy. I don't know if it's awful. It's not awful, but it's also not great. So who knows? He may just be one of those guys, and I think we said this before numerous times. Some guys are just meant to be a defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator. They're not
Yep.
meant to be a head coach. Buddy Ryan, not a great head coach. Defensive coordinator, Hall of Famer. Head coach, not so much. And some of them have been different, right? But I think hopefully he's a guy that's supposed to be an OC. We've been calling for something fresh, so you got to give the guy a chance. I just feel like it was a little quick. There were other guys out there. Um, and if he's going in there as the offensive coordinator, that means Eric Bieniemy must be leaving. And how in the world did we not interview Eric Bieniemy? Because
Seriously.
that would have been a guy that would have been my A list. I didn't think it was possible, but if he's out there, then we didn't think to wait at least or get an interview with him. He was so sure on Arthur Smith, so that's my cup of tea there. I just don't. We'll see.
Th- From what I understand, Eric Bieniemy was not available, but like you said, why didn't you just wait? Why didn't you just wait? You knew when they brought in the Commanders brought in a new head coach. You know he's going to bring in a new offensive coordinator. Very rarely do they they keep the coordinators from the previous regime. So yeah, why did they wait? Yeah, my initial thought about Arthur Smith was, and I know you're a fantasy football player, and so you pay attention to, all the players, and you see what Atlanta has done the past few years. They had what's supposed to be a generational tight end in Kyle Pitts. They haven't done crap with him. They got a great wide receiver in Drake London. They haven't done crap with him. And Bijan Robinson. They haven't done crap with him because Arthur Smith had this galaxy brain idea of saying, "No, we have all these talented people. We'll give the ball to the third and fourth string guys and have the main guys just be decoys." Like what is wrong with you, dude? Like what the heck? So, that was
Yeah,
that was one thing that bugged me, and the other was I don't know if what he did with the Titans can translate to what he does with the Steelers. You could say that, well, Najee Harris is basically the Dollar General version of Derrick Henry, and he kind of is, but still, I don't know, I, you know it's just very very scary, but I think there's a lot of good things about it. And one of the good things is you just had a recent head coach, and he was a coordinator before, so he has experience, and that is a big advantage over what they had with Matt Canada, who does not belong watching an NFL game, let alone being a coordinator. So, so I think just by that is a big upgrade.
it is. I could have sworn I saw something like maybe the Seahawks were looking at bringing in Matt Canada for an interview, and I'm like, no, 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 don't do that. Maybe he should go up to the CFL. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's I'm in the same bucket, Joe. It's there's so much gray area there with when he was with Tennessee. Did he get the most out of those players? He certainly seemed to get the most out of Tannehill. Um, but I mean, Tannehill wasn't awful, and I have to wonder if we might not see him come here to Pittsburgh and as a backup quarterback to Kenny Pickett. And that's the other thing, the Kenny Pickett, especially the Kenny Pickett crowd. I'm still up in the air about the guy. I'm not crapping on him yet. But for those that are really big Kenny Pickett fans, this can't be that exciting of a hire because the guy doesn't have a track record of developing quarterbacks. So I just, for the Kenny Pickett lovers, I don't think they can be that excited. Like I said, at first I was like, oh my God, this is just the worst thing ever. But okay, hear a few things out. Peter King, said a lot of guys who cover the NFL as a whole said this was a great hire. So I'll lean to their expertise and hopefully they're right. And maybe he will find his niche here. Who knows? I think he's got two very good running backs to work with. He's got at least one good offensive lineman to work with, but maybe he'll be able to come in and take a look at this upcoming draft and the Senior Bowl that they just did and say, hey, look, this guy and this guy, you got to be paying more attention to. Maybe he'll help build that offensive line that we need. So there's a couple things there. Yeah, you hope he can do, and maybe I always kind of feel it this way too. I think at this point in your life, you would say, okay, that head coaching thing wasn't for me. Or maybe you're like, no, man, I got to be a head coach again. Well, the way to be a head coach again is to be one hell of an offensive coordinator
Yeah.
and get that Steelers offense firing back up and maybe build over the next 3 to 4 years or whatever it may be to where it's so good that somebody else is going to give you a shot no matter what happened in Atlanta. So I guess that's probably the way you have to look at that. So who knows, Joe? I think it really, again, I think this draft is an important draft. I think the free agency is important. They bring in a quarterback. That's going to make things you saw just like literally earlier this afternoon. Art the second said all options are kind of open right now. So, maybe they will trade. Maybe they will draft their quarterback. Who knows? Who knows? I think it's interesting that they were really sold on the left tackle from Oregon. They're big on him. It's either a left tackle or the center. I can't remember which. But Arthur Smith, and I'm actually, if I got to give the guy credit, I've loved that wet center from WVU. He's been blowing up everybody, including Pitt and Penn State this year. I mean, Penn State won their game, but I mean, he was a hard guy. We couldn't get around him for the Nittany Lions, and Pitt couldn't get around him, and he's probably flying under the radar. They might be able to get him somewhere in there. And Arthur Smith has actually already spoken a little bit about him and how he's already kind of had his eye on him. And now there's an article earlier this week how the Steelers are in love with the guy. So who knows what kind of influence he brings. So I guess you have to be open to that. What kind of influence is he going to bring? What can he make happen? And this one thing we can all agree on, no matter who it was, you, me, Arthur Smith, Cliff Kingsbury, Eric Bieniemy, whoever came in, they needed a breath of fresh air to say, "Hey, did you think about this?" And maybe they're listening.
I think that's something that this signifies is, and I think we saw it from Tomlin's press conference at the end of the season and what's been happening ever since. I think Tomlin has been humbled, and I think he's finally acknowledging, you know what? Maybe it's time to do things differently. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe I don't know it all. Maybe we should do things differently. And this is something different because before he would always promote from within, you know, go down the hall, just find somebody, hey, who wants to be offensive coordinator? You, okay, yeah, you're the offensive coordinator now. So this is something that they do need a fresh set of eyes. Um, yeah, he's not great with quarterbacks, but what if I don't think they're done hiring? What if they bring in? What if they still bring in Bieniemy as like a quarterbacks coach or a passing game coordinator or something like that? Kind of like what they did with Flores.
Right.
Just hang out for a year and just help us out, and then go about your way.
Yeah, get you
Maybe
some
that
donuts. Yeah.
they're not done. They're not done. So yeah, I like it, and I also like that. I think some of us were hoping for get somebody on the 49ers, get somebody on the from the McVay coaching tree or something like that. And I think we were kind of hoping for that. But instead we got a guy that is very closely in line with what the Steelers have been doing and want to do. This run heavy attack. And people say you can't that's not going to win in the NFL. Like, yeah, I don't know about that. I think, look at the playoffs. Um, the Chiefs won what? Beat the won what 17-10 or 17-14 or something like that. It wasn't exactly a high flying game. You could win with a good defense and a good running game, but you gotta have a quarterback that isn't awful. And that's the key to all of this. You could have got the greatest offensive mind ever, but if you got a sucky quarterback, and that's what we had most of last year, none of this is gonna matter.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, there's a reason they're the highest paid guys, in the league. I think I can think of maybe two instances where teams had a Hall of Fame quarterback and just somehow never figured out how to build around them. Well, okay, so the Dolphins never figured out how to build around Marino and Duper and Clayton, right? I mean, they had Dwight Stevenson as a center, phenomenal center, and all that, but never could do it. The Broncos finally were able to get a running game for John Elway, and that's largely a big reason why Elway went out the way he did. Two Super Bowls, a Super Bowl MVP. He had a Hall of Fame running back with him finally, and a really good defense, right? So you're right. You just I was just watching the other night they had Super Bowl 40 and 43 on, and as bad as Ben was in 40, and how the team kind of rallied around him and made up for how bad he was. 43, he was tremendous, right? So it's you got to figure out that kind of balance, and be able to do that. But all those things I just mentioned, a lot of those teams had great offensive lines, right? And that's, again, I hate to harp on it. I know it's not sexy, but I'm gonna have no problem if Jackson Powers Johnson, that's the guy from Oregon, and the guy from West Virginia is Frazier. I have no problem if they take one of those two because Mason Cole is definitely not the answer. I'm not even sure if Mason Cole is worthy of being a backup. I mean, I
Right,
guess
right.
whatever, but they've got to start there to me. Offensive line is where it's got to be. Um, I think you could pick up some of the other guys in the second round and whatnot, but I think it's got to be offensive line. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know, but maybe they'll address it in the offseason. Who knows?
But that's another thing is you have Omar Khan and Andy Weidel, and Andy Weidel comes from the Eagles, and their philosophy was strong offensive line, strong defensive line. You want to have a ground and pound run attack. Well, you need a good offensive line for that. And so, the offensive line a year ago compared to what it was, in 2003 compared to 2022 was a big upgrade. Now we need to do another upgrade. We need to upgrade a tackle and we need to upgrade at center. Then we're pretty much done. Then if you could get a good center and a good tackle, you're pretty much done. You got your good offensive line, so you're good to go. So I fully expect the first two rounds to be tackle and center, and I'm fine with that. I'm
They might. I mean, you might see a defensive back sneak in there. You talk about the Eagles. A big reason that Eagles team was as good as it was last year. They were the number one pass rate defense in the league. And this year they were like 28th. I mean, I can't believe how much of a
Well, the
swing.
Eagles fell apart. I don't
I
know what
mean,
the hell
totally.
happened to them.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be something I could see them doing, either dressing that in free agency or going if there's a safety or cornerback who I think might be there from Georgia might fall there, that might go there. So it's again just like last year. Last year, I think I still feel like they did pretty good in last year's draft. Um, can they repeat it again this year and keep setting the foundation? Because you got to really say what I don't think a lot of people want to say. I think they are in a slight rebuilding year. And a lot of people look at that and say, well, they were 10-7, made the playoffs. Again, 10-7, and they lost yet again in the playoffs. So I don't mind saying it's a rebuilding year. You got a new offensive coordinator. It's time for a little bit of a rebuild. Total rebuild would be all staffs go on, whatever. But And I think he had a good point there. I think Tomlin was humbled a little bit. I've never seen a press conference like that with him in 17 years. He opened up more than he ever has over almost a hour-long press conference, which is unlike him too. And yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing those things, but again, there's a long way to go here. And really, Joe, I hate to put this on Kenny Pickett. That's a big part of what it said too. To your point is if Kenny Pickett's not the answer, then they're really in a full blown out rebuild. Because if they draft a guy high, like I know some of the rumors are Bo Nix. Bo Nix could fall the second round. I wouldn't mind him giving a shot at Bo Nix. But Kenny Pickett's either got to be the guy or they're in rebuild because he was a first round pick. And you saw what the Jets did. They went out and got Aaron Rodgers because their first round pick, who's second pick overall,
Yeah,
was a massive bust. So
yeah,
you can't tell me that Kenny can't be a bust in the first round of the 20th overall pick. Oh, he
right,
definitely could be.
right,
And so
right.
far, I wouldn't say he's necessarily a bust because of all the crap that was piled on him and he went through, but it's getting there. I think he's closer to being there than he is a success story. So,
Just as uh that's one thing that has been strongly hinted in by Tomlin, by Rooney, by by almost everybody that's talking is this put up or shut up time for Kenny Pickett. This is it. And we will see, but I have a feeling I don't want to say they've moved on from him, but I think they have a contingency of we got to have some good backups, some strong competition, not just a rookie. Now, maybe it's Mason. Maybe he'll come back. We'll see. Maybe it's Ryan Tannehill. I really hope not because I think he's washed up. But he would be, he would know Arthur Smith's system perfectly. Fine. But he's unfortunate. I think he's 36. Like, come on. What do you want from the dude?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it gotta be someone. And listen, we were talking about it. Everybody was talking about it last year at one point. Where it started like, hey, is it time for Tomlin to go? Tomlin technically has not still had a contract extension, although it's going to happen. I think he's realizing his own mortality too. It's like, holy crap, I hitched my wagon to this schmuck, and I'm screwed. Like I'm not like screw this. I'm looking out for myself and I'm looking out for the team. And I don't care if Golden Boy can't make it. Fine. We'll find someone else that has so that can. So maybe that's Mason, maybe that's someone else. It ain't Mitch. Mitch is gone. So it'll be someone else, some backup or something that'll come in and have actual competition. And all I want is an actual real competition, whoever it is, whoever it is. And I don't care how it looks. In training camp, you say whoever the best player is, regardless of where they were drafted or any of the pedigree or anything like that, just the best player that can execute the system. That's all we need is a system quarterback. That's what Mason Rudolph was. He was just a system quarterback. He executed the system, and that was a garbage system with Matt Canada. So we just need somebody that actually does this. Don't shove Kenny down our throat if Kenny sucks. No, if it's time to move on from him, move on from him.
Yeah. A couple things there, too. You talk about the quarterback in camp. If there's one thing where Kenny, I thought, got hosed was 2 years ago when he didn't get hardly a snap in training camp. To me, that was inexcusable. It still is. Still kind of a reflection on how Tomlin's run things there. That I still understand how you can't explain that. The other thing is the drama they carry with them. You don't leave that much drama behind. You heard what Deontay Johnson said. Mason Rudolph's the guy I want. I mean, you've heard a lot of that stuff. I mean, I don't know. Like we said a little bit like a week or two ago, do they have a meeting of players, whatever meeting, whatever, lock the media out, lock whatever out, and hey, all that bullshit stays back, new thing moving forward or whatever. But you're right. There's still a lot of that there. Obviously, some of the players are not sold on Kenny Pickett. I'm not, can't say all of them, but at least a few are. And you say that kind of thing. How do you face him again in training camp? Right? I mean, here your own number one technically receiver doesn't believe in you and has said so. So yeah, I mean, and you bring in guys, and you're right. I still think Kenny deserves a fair shake, but to me, he's on a real short leash, and that in itself is tough too, right? Because if he's on a short leash, then there, you never want to have your starting quarterback on a short leash going into the first game of the season.
Right.
So
Right.
who knows? I mean, it's really a mess, and I really feel like the mini camp could be a big deal this year. Who's going to show up? What are they going to do? Pickett didn't show up to clean out his locker. He avoided media day. I don't blame him, but I also kind of think you should have probably been there. You're a captain.
You're a
Either way,
captain. You're a
I mean,
leader. You
yeah,
face the music.
there's so much crap on this kid's plate. So if Kenny Pickett can get through all that, having a teammate, a very intricate teammate in your arsenal call you out, who knows? I mean, either you live by that or die by that. Either it ignites him to finally get to where he needs to be, or we're still swimming in mediocrity, and that's not where you want to be. And that next year will be the end of Kenny Pickett. So I don't know. There's a lot going on with them. There's a lot to figure out. I thought the other thing was interesting too, that I don't know if you picked up on this. So the Eagles kick it off right in Brazil. One of our away games is at Philadelphia. Now, if you look at that Central and South America, I think this. I looked at the Eagles' home schedule. The only team there's Atlanta, Carolina, Cleveland, I think Arizona, a bunch of teams that are eh. The only teams I can see up for that are Dallas, obviously, and then the Giants, and then it's us. And then the Green Bay might be in there too, because Green Bay's big in Central
Yeah.
South America. Can you imagine our first game is on the road in Brazil on an away game against
I
the
would love
Eagles?
that because the Steelers in Philadelphia is like a guaranteed loss. So regardless, if like the team plane crashed or something like that for the Eagles and the Steelers would play like 22 fans, Eagles fans or something like that, the Eagles would still find a way to win. For
Beat
some reason, they're cursed in that
uh,
state. So yeah, play in Brazil, cool, okay, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
it
Uh,
could be Jacksonville. The Eagles have a home game against Jacksonville, and God knows the NFL sends Jacksonville everywhere because nobody in Jacksonville gives a
right,
damn about the Jaguars. So hey,
right.
take the Jaguars. We'll go to Ireland. We'll go to Ontario. We'll go to Brazil. Send the Jags. Send Trevor Lawrence. He looks great. The flowing hair, the grace, take him.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised, and that would mean that the opening night would be also opening night of, or no, it would be week 2 of high school football in Western Pennsylvania because it's a Friday night game. So I mean,
Come on.
could
Just
you
leave high school alone.
could
Don't
imagine the
go
Steelers
on. I mean, you knew it
opening?
was gonna happen. They play Thursdays, they play Saturdays, they play they're just gonna go they're eventually gonna be every game. Eventually
Oh,
there's gonna be Tuesday night football and Wednesday night football.
right,
It's coming.
yeah. Like you always see like Boise State now, or
Right.
Idaho Vandals on Tuesday night
Right.
football. Yeah,
Yeah, the
but
the the MAC game of the week is usually on Tuesday night, but it'll be Jacksonville against Carolina or something like that.
But I mean, that's again, that's folks. That's just me thinking out loud. But even that, could you imagine? It's a tall order. Your first game's on the road in Brazil, if it happens to be that. It might not. They probably only have a 1 in 4 chance of doing that by my math and just looking at who they have. But my oh
Makes a
my,
lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I remember many years ago the Steelers played in Mexico City. Um,
yeah, it was all Steeler fans.
oh, I'm sure.
It was
I'm
nuts.
sure. Um, that is another thing, and then that's another thing that's supposed to be a plus for Arthur Smith is he is good at connecting with players, or that's what reputation he has, which is very good because that's the exact opposite of Matt Canada, who didn't connect with players and didn't connect with coaches. He basically said, "I'm doing everything, and this is the way it is, and that's it. I don't want any input. I don't want to know any view and any stuff like that." So that is an important thing. Is you have to repair the relationship with the wide receivers, and if it is Kenny, oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, how do you say that? How do you go and say, how do you deal with that when somebody just flat out said, I don't want that guy. I want the other guy. What do you I don't know if there's any coming back from that. My goodness. They gotta fix that. They gotta.
And
they got to do
honestly, I
a
think
trip.
I think if you're right, they do, but I think it has to come from them. And that's where, again, I don't put that blame on Kenny Pickett. Deontay is a piece of work. He's not. He's a little bit less than a drama queen than Pickens, but not by much. So that's the other thing. They make all these excuses for Kenny. I don't know if it's totally viable, but he's got two wide receivers that love the drama. They love to run their mouths. One has shown that both have shown at times to be very lazy on the field. So I don't know. I'm hoping that's what Arthur Smith can change is this whole effort, some camaraderie, like you said, connecting with players. Does he go in? Does he meet with them? I don't know. But I would like to think, Joe, to a point, to your point, maybe he sits down with these guys and his meeting with Deontay is like, bro, okay, I understand it was a frustrating season. You had a few more touchdowns than you did the year before. You had this, you had that happen, but calling out your possible starting quarterback, you got to make amends of that. I mean, that's the only thing I could hopefully think that he could say. Maybe Tomlin's already said it to him. I don't know, but that fence does need mended.
I I yes, they are unprofessional and immature. However, their entire livelihood depends on the quarterback getting them the ball. And there, how do you feel when you've done your job and you got open? You got sometimes wide open, and the quarterback does his little pirouettes into the loving arms of a defensive lineman over and over again. They got these wide receivers, their money depends on getting the ball, and they get the ball. I don't condone their actions at all. Like I said, immature and unprofessional, and that needs to be dealt with, which goes to my next subject. The wide receiver coach position has just opened up. People are talking and how wonderful this would be. Hines Ward, Steelers wide receiver coach, or Antoine Randall.
he'd be the
But
most
still,
he'd be the most possible popular wide receiver coach in the league. I mean, it would be
yeah.
Heinz Ward jerseys would be worn for purpose,
Oh
and they still
God.
been worn. They've been being worn for years now, but now it's like he's back. So now I can put this on today, and it actually means something. Unlike the Jack Ham ones that you wear, and he's not a little bit they're playing anymore. But no, you can always count on Yinzers to break out the jerseys. I told you what happened. I remember when they drafted Pickett and he chose number 8. It was week 2, whatever maybe the second home game was. There's some idiot with a Tommy Maddox jersey, tape on the back, and he writes Pickett. That's a Yinzer. That is a Yinzer,
Hey,
right?
hey,
Um,
that's a very expensive piece of clothing. Yeah,
yes,
you just need to alter it.
yeah. He's like the guy in Cleveland, the guy that has that Browns jersey, and they have all the quarterback names like
That's right.
Billy.
That's
Yeah, but
right.
no, I mean, yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff would be great. I mean, you need to find something to like. I don't care what you say. This team left on a low note in a lot of different ways. They need to get in there, get fired up, and see some enthusiasm, see a lot of things, and I think that comes with some of these changes. So Arthur Smith is it, whether you like it or not. Hopefully, he adds to that tenacity and adds to igniting that because I still right now don't feel like they're in a good place. I mean, to me, if we had to make our way too early, not 2024-25 season predictions, I'm thinking 9-8, 8-9. So I think a lot's got to change between now and next August for me to think it's going to be any better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Hines Ward would be an amazing pick because what's one thing we say all the time? Remember how it was back 15 years ago when
Yeah.
you had Hines Ward, Polamalu, um, Kiesel, all those character guys that you never had to worry about somebody flying off the handle or doing something stupid because they had such a great locker room. And Hines Ward would be the keeper of the culture and of the flame and like but that's why I don't think it would work because I don't think he would get to those guys. I think he would look at Pickens and Deontay Johnson and say, what the hell's wrong with you people? No, no, it's like somebody would die. He would either quit or be fired or something,
Yeah.
or
And
somebody
that's
would
what I
go
mean.
would
Like,
hurt.
Um, whether it happened the day after or whatever, because it was, at the tail end of the season, Hines Ward would have called Deontay Johnson out, and I'm like, hey, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. And his recommendation may have been get rid of him or whatever. I mean, that's the thing with Deontay. You either trade him away or get behind him, because if you try to
Right.
demote him to like a slot receiver, you know how he's going to take that. It's going
Right.
to be
Right.
bad for a whole year. So that's the thing. But I agree with you. I would love to see Hines or L or and that even like the enemy, right? It doesn't have to be a Steeler. That's what I think Eric Bieniemy kind of brought to the Chiefs in those years was he got rid of the drama. And they say that the thing about Bieniemy is, and this comes from numerous people on the Chiefs and now the Redskins or the Commanders, um, he's a tough son of a bitch. He runs a very tight ship. He is not your friendly coach. And why I was kind of hoping that might happen is Tomlin's a player's coach. Sometimes you need good cop, bad cop, right? And that to me would have been a great bad cop to have. Because that's exactly what Andy Reid is. Andy Reid, good cop. The enemy,
Right.
bad cop. Balance it out pretty well. So
Um,
yeah, definitely
there
what I would
was
like to see.
there was that report last summer that's like the Commanders players said that they didn't like Bieniemy because he was being mean to them. Oh no. Us like you little coddled babies. That's exactly what you need, you little schmucks. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
would.
yeah,
I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance you could still bring in the enemy. I mean, because it's like you know who else I want as a dream coaching staff. Let's bring in Mike Vrabel as like a linebackers coach or something like that. Now I
yeah,
don't know if they would want him because he's too tall. Did you see that?
yeah.
He's tall and he might intimidate someone. Like oh no, like oh my God.
Right.
What are we doing, people? But no, I mean, hey, it's like, what are your options if you're one of these people that doesn't have a job right now? You could either sit out the year and go to the beach, or you could stay involved with the game and current. And so, yeah, why not take a lesser job somewhere just to be around the game?
Yeah, I remember talking to Ozzie Newsome once at a he was at a charity event, and nicest guy. Probably if I had to pick a favorite Cleveland Brown, he would probably be right up there. And you saw what he did with Baltimore, right? I mean, those
Wasn't
that,
he the
that
GM of Baltimore that like picked like every good player
yeah.
ever?
I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame on that alone. I really have always felt the NFL needs a copy from the NHL. Like the NHL has like the movers and the legend or whatever they are. But anyway, and I remember him saying they were a little loose until Marty Schottenheimer took over. And he said, after Marty took over, nobody missed curfews. He said people miss curfews left and right. He says, Marty was there, no missed curfews. And you kind of need that discipline because these
Yeah,
are younger kids. Now that you and I are in our 40s, we can say that these kids, uh, they, I think they need that kind of a thing. They need a disciplinarian. Yes, you can go over the top, right? But yeah, that's why I don't know Arthur's with Arthur Smith is really like I've done some research on him, but I don't see anybody coming out saying he's a real hard ass. But sometimes you need that to bounce it out. I think that's why Cowher was successful with what he did. I think Tomlin's not afraid to be a hard ass either. I think it's a little bit of a misconception on how much of a softy he is. I don't think he's too much of a softy. I think he's a lot harder than what you think. I mean,
yeah,
all those, especially the summer in Latrobe, I saw it firsthand. He has no problem sticking it into someone's grill. But like you said, when you bring in a coordinator or a special teams coach or a wide receivers guy or girl at this point, I mean, some of the girls are great. You need that person that's not afraid to say, you know, pick it up, stop whining, and let's go.
yeah.
You just do.
Um, apparently Justin Fields is available. Russell Wilson will be available. I've heard
Uh,
Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Please no. Please no. Come
he
on,
made them.
guys.
The thing that got me about Russell Wilson, he made the Broncos build him a special office at the stadium, and like it wasn't big enough, so they had to like tear down a wall. Um, Now, well, a lot of the things he does is run charity work. Okay, I'm good with that, but I cannot believe how bad that experiment has failed for Denver. and it's really kind of put a little bit of a mark on him. And I don't know if I want anything to do with Russell Wilson. I don't know.
You know what Russell Wilson is, and unfortunately, we just lost him this week. He was Apollo Creed. When
Yeah,
Apollo Creed became champion and he had to do all those other things. Same thing with Rocky when he became champion. And you got to do this and that and all this other that's totally unrelated to boxing. That's Russell Wilson. He got yeah, that's great. You do charity and you do this and you have this and that and that. But it's like, what about the football, dude? And yeah, him last year, 2 years ago when he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, that was a complete disaster. And then he gets with Sean Payton, and Sean Payton said, "Screw you, dude. I don't, because it was supposed to be a good marriage
right.
because he was supposed to be like Drew Brees light, and that
Yeah,
could have worked. But I think it's just I don't think he has it anymore. So please no Russell Wilson does it unless you want him as like the third string guy or something like that, or I don't
yeah.
know.
But I
Uh,
don't know if Justin Fields is much in a better light for me than Kenny Pickett. I think he's good. I don't think he's been as good as you want him to be. I think over the course of the games he started, he's not all that much knocking my socks off like Kenny. So to me, you're bringing in Justin Fields. It's not like you're bringing a guy that's significantly better than Kenny Pickett. Now he has some athleticism, yeah, and I mean he the year before he had a pretty good year. So I guess you could bring him in. I'm not going to object to it, but man, that's the thing, Joe. We talked about this. Is I like with Art, what even Art the second said. Right now, the Steelers are not in a good place with quarterback. I don't care what you say, and I don't care how much you love Kenny Pickett. They're not in a good place. Mitch is gone, so they need a third stringer anyway, and anybody's going to be better than Mitch anyway, including half my Funko Pops on my desk. But if Mason doesn't come back, then you do have a real problem, right? If Mason
yeah,
comes back, then you still may also have a problem
right.
because he may challenge for the starting position. And you got a kid that's came out as a 20th overall pick. That's going to hit his psyche. If his psyche isn't already damaged, and I think it is because you saw what happened towards the end of the season. He wasn't hurt; they didn't play, so there's something to that too. So it is a quagmire right now. It is a mess, and Arthur Smith has got to help clean that up too. And that's the thing. I mean, if they bring in another quarterback, it's only going to make it more intriguing, but more worrisome too.
I just wonder if when they interviewed Arthur Smith, they said, "Okay, if you want to come on," or if he said, "Listen, are we married to Kenny Pickett? Do I have to be with him? Can we get someone else or something like that?" I wonder how that talk went. I wonder if that
Yeah,
talk
with
is
the
like, "Listen, your job is, yeah, get this offense going, but also get Kenny going." Or if they told him, "Listen, your job is just to get the offense going. I don't care who the quarterback is." I don't know. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
I think it would be hard to ask him, that. I think more to what I just kind of said, like, hey, here's the situation. It's a mess. How are you going to fix it? Tell me what you would like to do or what you would do. That would have been my question. Here's where we are. I got a guy that didn't come out and clean out his locker. It's pretty much a healthy scratch. He wasn't happy about it. Things aren't in a great place there. I may be bringing a guy back to challenge him, who was a third string, who went up to second string, who went to first string. And Arthur, I got to be honest with you, we scored 30 points over the last 3 games, and we didn't touch out with Kenny, and he figured out how to do it. So, and that's where they are, whether you like it or not. And yeah, that's the thing, Joe. If they bring in, it's always the way, right? If they bring in a guy like a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson, um, there's gonna be that growing people. They're gonna be out there chanting Russell Wilson.
Right.
They're gonna be chanting. We saw it happen with Duck and Mason. Um, we saw what
Yeah.
happened with Ben, with Tommy Maddox, right? I mean, that's just a proverbial way it's going to go. It's really nothing against Kenny. So I don't know. It seemed like Mike said Kenny's the guy. Okay,
Well, he
but
kind of has no choice. All this talk
right,
about, oh, why aren't they saying they love Mason Rudolph? Why not Mason? Arthur Smith didn't mention Mason Rudolph. He's not on the team right now,
right now he's
folks.
not on the team.
He's not. We could say, what are they gonna say? Oh my God, we love Mason Rudolph. Or they're like, oh, then he jumps to the Giants or something like that. Like, like that, the guy we love just left. He's not on the team. Sign him. Okay, then you could. Then we'll see what happens. But he's halfway out the door right now. So
Right.
unfortunately, there's a good chance he might be gone.
Yeah. So I expect him to be kind of a player in the offseason. Be interesting to see what they do because I think it's really going to dictate the draft. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be very different this year because I think they built a little bit of foundation. It's now, can you improve upon it or just kind of muck it up? And they can't afford, if they can't afford to muck it up,
Yeah,
because again, the quarterback situation isn't better when it is now. 6 months from now, they're definitely probably in a full rebuild. If they go 5 wins next year, they are in absolute total rebuild mode. There's no question about it.
it's all, I hate to say it, but it's all on one person. It's all on the quarterback. Whoever it is, you could pick up all pros at every position. If your quarterback sucks, you got nothing. So we'll see. We'll see. Le'Veon Bell wants to come back.
Yep.
And as I've stated before, bro, if you went through all that money, then God bless you. But hey, but do you think there's a chance if he does actually want to come back and the Steelers actually take him, do you think there's a chance that he would actually make the team?
Sure. I mean, I posted this the other day. I'm not going to get in his way. I mean, we've all had our failures in our life. We've all had that mantra. I'm going to make a comeback, whether it's something like you had a bad year in your job, maybe it's something more serious. You had a bad relationship, you lost a parent, you lost a sibling, you lost a kid. You got to find yourself to pull yourself back up and say, I got to figure a way to come back, no matter what that may be. And the guy's trying to find a way to come back. So, do I ideally like how things ended with him? No. Do I think he'll make it? I don't know. But hey, kudos to the guy if he does. The only problem with him is he's got two pretty good running backs in front of him. So, if he makes the team, I mean, is he looking? Is it going to be like a Deuce Staley kind of a thing? Is it? Who knows? But here's the thing: they can't do if he comes into camp, because he said he only wants to play with one team. So it's not like he's going to go to Philadelphia or the Giants or the Cardinals or whatever. He's coming here. And if he comes into camp and he blows their doors off and is doing things that they haven't been able to get done, Arthur Smith may go to Mike and say, we got to find a spot for this guy. I don't know how we're going to put him in or what we're going to do, but, they're not exactly in a position where they can say no right now to a guy that comes in, whether he's 31 or 29. So I think it'll happen? I don't think so. And I would be much more confident if they only had a Najee Harris and only a Jalen Warren. They got two pretty good running backs. I think that may be his biggest hurdle.
I wonder if he would accept being like a practice squad player
I think so.
or something like
Well,
that.
I think he'd want to shoot for being on a 53 man roster. I think that
Yeah.
would be happy. But you might be right, Joe. It's a really good point. He might accept that. To him, that might be mission accomplished. I made it onto an NFL roster in some
Yeah.
capacity at 31. I did
And
it
and
as a running
then
back.
and then if God forbid Najee or Jalen Warren get hurt, then
Yep.
he's there. I don't know.
31's not, exactly the end all be all. It's getting there, right? I'd say 33 to 34, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
But 31, you probably have a year, maybe two. And he is a freak. I mean, he is a workout aholic. He takes very good care of his body. You know that they're going to run every test on man, known to man, if he's physically able to do this. Um, So yeah, I'd say it's 60
Yeah.
40, 70 30. I guess. We'll see. But who knows? Watch the Steelers draft a running back. I don't know.
Right, right. He's the reason I started this podcast.
Oh,
It
really?
was that whole situation with him. Remember he said, don't worry, because he held out a training camp and he didn't show up. And then he told his teammates, don't worry, I'll be there for the regular season. And then when the regular season came, he didn't show up. I got
Right.
so mad I started a podcast about it. And 778 episodes later, here we are. So thank you, Le'Veon Bell. Um, yeah, we'll see. I hope you love a comeback story. You love that underdog thing. So I hope he makes it. I hope he's okay in life because God, if you went through all that money, you did this all for the money, man. If you blew through that, I'd be
He
so
might be
dis
the guy if he comes back and wows him, Joe, physically. He might be that guy that could come on a team and be like, "Hey, Deontay, look, dude, you're going about it the wrong way. Trust me, I did that.
Trust me, I know.
I know. I effed up. I went to the Jets. That didn't work out well at all. Um, Tone it
let me
down, buddy.
let me tell you the long line of people that went against the Steelers ownership and management and how that ended up because the Steelers are kind of undefeated in that situation.
Right, right. So,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
and
I did think it was interesting that Trey Essex said um he said that offensive linemen loved a running back like Le'Veon Bell, and I thought like okay, but I mean because Le'Veon Bell his style was that he was patient instead of just running through the hole he would like just wait a minute and then go through the hole. So yeah, maybe I guess that would be really nice for a lineman.
yeah, Trey said a lot of interesting things. He said that, and he kind of a little bit of again another backhanded comment at Kenny Pickett when they brought in Arthur Smith, saying this shows me they have no confidence in Kenny Pickett, which was an interesting comment. But it's coming from a guy that knows. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting. Trey's become one of my favorite follows on Twitter. So
yeah, he's
yeah,
he's
Joe,
he's he's good.
that brings us to who we have left: the Niners and the Chiefs for all the marbles this Sunday.
I'm going Chiefs. I'm done ever betting against Mahomes. I just wonder if it's going to be a high scoring or a low scoring game. I would imagine it's going to be high scoring because I'm just thinking of last year's Super Bowl with the Chiefs and Eagles. So and you have some explosive players there. So I imagine it's going to be whatever the over under is. I think I would go over.
I probably would too. I think it'll be a little bit higher than what people are saying. Yeah, I know the Chiefs' defense has been good, and obviously the Niners has been to a point. Um, Brock Purdy led the league in completion percentage against press defense, and that's the defense the Chiefs really like to play. They love to play the press. They'll play two man or three, bring a guy under, but they love to play the press, and he has like an 82.9. It's insane, and the completion percentage is very high. And that's not easy to do. So I mean that takes a good quarterback with accuracy and patience to work the ball down a press defense like that. So be kind of interesting. Now, the Chiefs, one of the things I think the Chiefs do well is they adjust well.
Yeah.
Unlike sometimes the Steelers and definitely unlike the Pittsburgh Penguins, but that's another bowl of chips. But I'm with you, Joe. I just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's like my son's generation, maybe any older. He is the Michael Jordan of like anyone in their teens right now, right? He's the Michael Jordan, maybe the LeBron James, maybe the Mario Lemieux or the Larry Bird or whatever you want to say. He is. I just can't bet against him. I mean, he's just that good. And there's some people, and I'm starting to kind of join that train. I think he may be better than Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Now, he will never break Tom Brady's numbers, okay? But I think he might equal his championships or on another scale. But the guy's pretty much already a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's, you know, hard not to like him. I mean, he's a pretty good guy. I'm not crazy on his wife's a little crazy with his things she does, but yeah, I'm not betting against them too. I say Chiefs 26, 49ers 21 or 24, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Every year, growing up, we had to put up with Super Bowl blowouts almost every
Wow,
year.
remember that? Yeah, 55-10 Niners and
55. Remember,
Broncos.
I remember the in Denver, they had like speed limit signs at speed limit 55 and put somebody wrote on the bottom, Broncos 10. Yeah,
I
that
always
was the
thought
worst
that.
possible score. Yeah, yeah, we had to deal with the John Elway losing every year. Then we had to deal with Jim Kelly losing every year in the Super
Remember the
Bowl.
episode in The Simpsons where there's like the genie and Homer says, "Ooh, I want to be John Elway," and he scores, and then it shows the scoreboard, and it's like Giants 45, Broncos 7, whatever. Um, my friend Chris Massey, who I think sometimes he gives us a thumbs up, follows the show. He's writes for the Williamsport Sun Gazette, and he's now the most senior writer for the Little League World Series in the country. But I always make that funny joke with Chris with that. I always remember like they were doing the pregame between that Broncos and Niners Super Bowl, and Tom Jackson, who was a Bronco, is on there saying, "Well, if Dennis Smith and I forget the other Bronco who went to the Hall of Fame, the big hitter, he just went to the Hall of Fame like 3 or 4 years ago. Jeez, but it was like Tyrone Braxton and Dennis Smith and Ricky Atwater. If they can do their cover and keep Jerry Rice and John Taylor contained, the Broncos have a chance." I'm like, no, they don't
No,
have a chance.
no,
They don't have a chance.
there's no,
But you're
there
right,
was
but
no
yeah,
chance.
the Bears 46-10.
Yeah.
The Bills got their ass kicked other than the first one. I mean, they were getting trounced 52-17. The Chargers and the 49ers
Oof.
49-26. I mean, it was just one after the other, and finally, yeah, you can appreciate good games now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'll be a good game. I mean, this is just to me, it's a intellectual battle. Nobody's a better offensive mind than Andy Reid, but Kyle Shanahan comes really close. And Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, is really good. So I'm just really excited to see what maybe it'll be low scoring. I don't know. I don't know, but I think it'll be close either way. And
Today in media day, I just had to laugh because Kyle Shanahan, they asked him about being there today. He says, "Well, we've come a long way, a lot longer than what you all think." And somebody called him right. I don't know, what do you mean by that? He said, "Well, in spring training last year, the owner came up and said, "Well, how are our quarterbacks looking?" He said, "Well, the guy that we just picked up last, the third string guy, yeah, he's our best quarterback." And the owner goes, "God Almighty!" and look what Brock Purdy's been able to do and what they've been able to do with Brock Purdy. So it's just
what
cracking me
they
up.
did though, they had a pretty solid guy in Jimmy G. He was okay. Hey, he actually almost beat the 49ers 4 years ago.
Right.
But they pivoted from him. They said, okay, we got this Trey Lance. He's the future. We're trading 3 first-round draft picks for him. He's the future. But they were smart enough to say, oh no, crap. Uh, the third string guy that we got the very last pick of the draft, he's our guy. They made that they made that determination that because they didn't shove Trey Lance down their throats, they said, okay, if this guy's the best, he's the best, and that's who'll play. So I hope the
Well,
Steelers take a lesson from that and say, just because you draft someone in the first round doesn't necessarily mean you have to play him. You don't have to shove him down our throat. Just let the best quarterback play. That's
standing
it.
ovation, or my head would get cut off by the screen. But no, 190%. That's exactly it. I mean, that's a perfect way to end it and perfect way to say it because that's what the 49ers did. And right now, to me, the Steelers are still in that mode of, well, we want to be right more than we want to win.
Right.
We want to be right that Kenny Pickett was the right choice. Right now, I don't think he was. He could prove me wrong. I hope he does. And they're more stuck on, well, no, we did the right thing. I don't think he did. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right,
All
Joe.
right, sir. Have a good one.
Have a good night.
See you.